Good morning, everybody. Well, it's actually afternoon now. I have been doing I've been doing a lot of reading, and I've been doing a lot of it's springtime now on the calendar, anyways. There's still a lot of snow here, but um, the air is different, right? It just changes when it's springtime. And so I've got the bug, and I've been trying to clean my house room by room because it's a big chore for me, anyways. Um, I have a lot of things that I collect over the years, and so in doing my spring cleaning, I'm finding things all over the place that are reminding me of other times in my life, and some really, really useful things that I have collected over the years. And I found this poem. Well, it's not really a poem, but it's a reading that I wanted to share with you all. It means an awful lot to me because it just represents my coming to terms with um, something bigger than me. I know when I was growing up, I grew up in a very strict religious home, and as it turned out, it was a very cult-like home. But it's what I grew up with. It's what I knew, and when I left home, I moved out of my mom's, and I moved in with my dad, and I was like a little spring that had been like held down and squished up so much, and then it was like released. I could do anything I wanted. The supervision was sketchy. My dad didn't know how to look after a teenage girl, and it is what it is. And the choices and decisions that I made, not always the best. Like pretty much all the time, were not the best. So it took me on a pretty bumpy ride, and I experimented with drugs and alcohol, and was just having a great old time until I wasn't having a great old time anymore, and I needed help. And I got that help through AA, and I developed a relationship with a higher power. And sometimes people make light of that it's a belief in God, but people don't like to say God. People don't believe in God. People hate God. And I think it's all based on what they've lived and what they've been through in their lives. And so the gentler way to do it is calling it a higher power. Lately I have taken to calling it the universe, because really, when you really analyze everything, each one of us, every one of us, no matter where we are born, no matter where we grow up, no matter what color our skin is, no matter what decisions we've made in our lives, we're all connected. We're all cut from the same cloth. We really, truly are. And we're not so different from anyone else. And so I just prefer to, refer to that as the universe. But for the purposes of this reading, it's going to interchange between God and higher power. Uh, it means whatever you want it to mean. It really does. Because the bottom line is that the message is that there's something bigger than us. There's something that is so massively bigger than us, yet cares so very deeply for each one of us. Every one of us that has breath in their body is cared for by a universal power, whether that be God, Buddha, Allah. I don't care what you call it. Doesn't matter. So, but I wanted to read this because it really kind of puts into words my battle with it, right? So I'm in this very religious, very religious background, and then I'm like the loose spring, bouncing around, doing all these other things, and then I need help, and I go to this place, and they start talking about God, and I was like, oh, hold on, I don't want any part of that. I really didn't, and so in developing a relationship with a higher power, it kind of took the pressure off, because I didn't have to refer to that higher power the way I always had before, by a certain name, um, with which I had really negative connotations to. So I'm going to read you. It's called The Bike Ride, and it's just priceless. I just love it. So I hope you enjoy it, and I'm going to get started. At first, I saw God as my observer, my judge, keeping track of the things I did wrong so as to know whether I merited heaven or hell when I die. He was out there, sort of like the prime minister or the president, I knew I could recognize his picture, and I knew him, but I didn't really know him. But later on, when I recognized my higher power, it seemed as though life was rather like a bike ride. But it was a tandem bike. I noticed that God was in the back, helping me pedal. I don't know just when it was that he suggested we change places, but life has not been the same since. Life with my higher power, that is. God makes life exciting. When I had control, I knew the way. It was rather boring, but predictable. It was the shortest distance between 2 points. But when he took the lead, he knew delightful long cuts up mountains and through rocky places and at breakneck speeds. It was all I could do to hang on. Even though it looked like madness, he said, pedal. I was worried and I was anxious, and I asked, where are you taking me? And he just laughed and didn't answer. Then I started to trust. I forgot my boring life and entered into the adventure. And when I'd say, I'm scared, he'd lean back and touch my hand. He took me to people with gifts that I needed, gifts of healing, acceptance, and joy. They gave me their gifts to take with me on my journey, our journey, God's and mine. And we were off again. He said, give the gifts away. They're extra baggage, too much weight. So I did, to the people we met, and I found that in giving, I received. And still our burden was light. I didn't trust him at first in control of my life. I thought he'd wreck it. But he knew bike secrets and knew how to make it bend to take sharp turns and jump to clear high places filled with rocks, flying to short and scary passages. And I'm learning to shut up and pedal in the strangest places, and I'm beginning to enjoy the view and the cool breeze on my face with my delightful constant companion, my higher power. And when I'm sure I just can't possibly do any more, he just smiles and says, pedal. And that's been my journey. It truly has. I have learned to just relax, pedal, and trust in the process. And I'm hoping to be able to learn and garner enough gifts to be able to share with all of you as I continue on this journey and continue to trust and learn and give back. I hope you have an absolutely awesome weekend. Today's Friday. I hope you have a great time. I hope you stay grateful and you remember just how blessed and what a miracle you truly are, because you are. See you on the next video.